Following the events of last week's show, Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre met in a singles match tonight to settle their differences. The rest of the advertised card was full of rematches from past feuds, such as Cody Rhodes and Nakamura. WWE is still building up the card for the Fastlane pay-per-view on October 7. No matches have been announced as of tonight, so WWE needs to make setting up this pay-per-view its top priority. Let's take a look at what happened during tonight's episode of Raw, for this is Ridiculously Raw. Welcome, everybody, to Ridiculously Raw, the most must-see show on YouTube and Streaming.com today. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher. Of course, as always, we are awaiting the presence of the Phenom Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we will catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we hope to have him back with us on Wednesday night for what is going to be a very exciting edition of Wednesday Night Madness. For a certain reason, which we'll get into after. But nonetheless, let's get into Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw live tonight from the Delta Center, the legendary Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah, formerly the home of the Utah Jazz. And we started it off with an in-ring promo segment. Cody Rhodes cutting a promo and interrupted by Dominic Mysterio. And of course, you notice it was only him. You noticed Rhea Ripley not with him. Obviously, they're having Rhea sell the effects of Nia Jax's beatdown from last week, but nonetheless, it led into the match. Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio. Cody Rhodes wins the match, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And it looks like this was another week of Cody Rhodes not getting a chance to address why his character lobbied to have Jey Uso traded to Raw. The popular assumption is that Cody will be the compensation traded to SmackDown. But, for whatever odd reason, it looks like they're stretching this out. Of course, we all know that's the number one MO of Triple H's story of the trade compensation alive on both shows, just to keep the interest alive. It wasn't a squash, but it was about as decisive as a win can get. Not only did Cody pin Dom clean with his finisher, but he did it after overcoming Finn Balor's interference. The few minutes we saw were fine, but we didn't get nearly enough. This made Dom look bad without actually doing anything to help Cody. So nobody came away from this benefiting in any way. So the only observation here, it would be fun if WWE had a decibel meter to show how loud every crowd gets when they boo Dominic. I mean, he has more heel heat than anybody, even more so than Roman Reigns, and that's saying a lot. Cody is so good that he even makes a standard vertical suplex stand out sometimes. And then Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens came out to make sure Judgment Day didn't take Cody out, but KO called Cody back to the ring to talk about something as the show went to a break. That, of course, was Cody bringing Jey Uso to Monday Night Raw. And I'll tell you what, I was hoping there'd be more to that explanation than just giving Jey a second chance. If Cody's not going to SmackDown, then who is? And why does it feel like we, the viewers, care more about that than anything else or anyone else on television right now? It's a lot to think about. All right. When it comes to our next matchup here, by the way, we classify all that stuff as cutout stuff. Now we're going to get into the real action here. First up, we were supposed to have a match tonight, a tag team match. The Viking Raiders and the New Day under, as good old MF Michael Fletcher and the late great Gorilla Monsoon always say, Intercontinental rules. It was supposed to be 2 out of 3 falls. But apparently at the last moment, Eric was not cleared to compete. So we had a one-on-one match instead, as it was Kofi Kingston squaring off against Ivar of the Viking Raiders. Of course, Ivar with Valhalla in his corner. Winner of the match in 13 minutes and 10 seconds, it was Kofi Kingston. I'll tell you what, this match was all about Kofi trying to find ways to combat the power and shocking agility of Ivar. Ivar might be the bigger member of his team. Also, he might be the bigger member of the Viking Raiders, but he's also the quicker of the two. What could have been a throwaway bout in a feud that will continue past this week turned into a David versus Goliath-like battle between these two rivals. They did a lot to make themselves and each other look great. Kofi picked up a clean victory with a Trouble in Paradise to cap off a great performance from both men. Ivar still had Valhalla with him, so why would Xavier Woods not come out with Kofi? A little weird. And there is no way having a guy like Ivar do a senton on top of you feels anything but terrible. Some moves look like they don't hurt the person taking it too much, but there is no way to fake 300 plus pounds falling on top of you. The crowd started chanting for Kofi early in the bout. He still has a special connection with the crowd. And Ivar doing a moonsault is always a joy to witness. My God, that was insane. I'll go as far as to call this the sleeper fight of the night. I was a little iffy about it, but I was pleasantly surprised. This was far more entertaining than it had any right to be. 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. Fantastic match. So, not much more to say here. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. Kofi Kingston defeating Ivar. 13 minutes and 10 seconds. If you thought this singles match between these two were great, just imagine what that Intercontinental Rules tag bout would have been.
3.5 stars, second best fight of the night. You absolutely hit the nail on the head. This match had no business being anything good or relatively solid, and it turned out to be a sleeper fight of the night. It stole the damn show. Like, I could not believe how good, especially Ivar, the brute strength, the power, and some of the movesets that he did in this matchup. Pleasant surprise, man. That made me open my eyes to Ivar a lot more and a lot different than I normally would have in any other situation. You couldn't write a better script or could not have done a better outcome with that match. It was thoroughly impressive for what we saw, for the body of work. And for me, like I said, second best fight of the night, 3.5 stars. You're absolutely correct. Anthony, back to you.
All right, MF, and we move on to our next match, MF Special, two of your favorites, MF. Shinsuke Nakamura squaring off against Ricochet. Shinsuke Nakamura wins the match via disqualification in an even 13 minutes. Ricochet, whoa, MF, where did that aggression come from? That was off the page here tonight.
Third best fight of the night. Reason why? Because Nakamura got in the head of Ricochet. He was planting the seeds, just like how he's been causing a lot of havoc and trouble for Seth freaking Rollins. Oh, by the way, before the fight, there was almost a brouhaha there. Look, Nakamura is getting everybody under their skin, and he's exposing them by making those mistakes. So for me, I could not have thought of a better idea or a better game plan or whatever you want to say, because at the end of the day, what he did was absolutely perfect. I got nothing bad to say about it. This was another 3-star to 3.25 stars. And like you said, we like the aggression, we like the attitude, we like the beat down aspect of it. But at the end of the day, the right team won the match. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. like MF said, the world heavyweight champion Seth freaking Rollins tried to attack Nakamura before his scheduled match with Ricochet, but Adam Pearce and the Gestapo security guards prevented the champ from getting to him. Even though the King of Strong Style has been the one with the change in attitude recently, Ricochet showed some aggression whenever he was in control. These two have known each other for years and have been in the ring together many times, so they were able to use the chemistry they have developed to make this into a fun encounter that didn't just feel like another random match on a Monday night. The High Flyer stopped Nakamura from using a steel chair, but he ended up getting himself disqualified when he used the chair instead. He argued with the referee until Nakamura took out his leg and hit him with a Kinshasa. It almost felt like this was all part of Nakamura's plan. Seth Rollins tried to attack him again, but Nakamura went after his injured back to take him down. The way Ricochet hit a dropkick made it look like he had so much force behind it. The dropkick Nakamura hit while Ricochet was doing a handspring looked painful. Being kicked is bad enough, but being kicked while you're upside down has got to be worse. This was another 3.5-star match. If I had to penalize it, I would bump it down to 3.25, but still another very good match, to say the very least. So not much more to say here. We move on to a non-title match. We had the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Chelsea Green and Piper Niven squaring off against Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. Unfortunately, the match got thrown out. It went to a no contest, 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Nia Jax ruined the match. So I'll say this. The former Nia Jax ended up attacking Piper Niven and Zoe Stark to cause the match to end in a no contest. The former women's champion dismantled everyone. Once again, the women's tag team division is made to suffer so a single star can look good. It's a pattern we see far too often. The only observations I have, Zoe Stark's twisting senton always looks awesome, and Chelsea Green had a nice enziguri on Zoe at one point. So we're going to throw that away. That was an NA. So not much more to say on that. We move on to our next matchup, which was Chad Gable squaring off against Big Bronson Reed. And Big Bronson Reed wins the match, 6 minutes and 40 seconds. We've seen Master Gable take on a lot of big guys over the years, but Big Bronson Reed is a different animal. This might not have been their first time in the ring together, but it might have been the best. Gable has become one of the most beloved underdogs in WWE, but that didn't stop Bronson Reed from pinning him with the tsunami a la Wade Barrett. Considering Gable is trying to get one more shot at Gunther and the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship, it did not make much sense to have him lose here, but the match was still really fun for the most part. Reed was saying Gable couldn't suplex him. Are we just supposed to forget these two have been in the ring together this year? Calling Reed big as his nickname does not help, but calling him maybe Bam Bam Bronson might actually catch on. The way WWE used the turnbuckle camera to catch Reed dropping Gable on the top rope was great. It might be the first good use of that camera since WWE put them on the ring. So I'll give it about 2.5 to 2.75 of a star for the effort. But nonetheless, MF, Big Bronson Reed defeating Chad Gable in 640. And if Chad Gable, Gable says he wants another shot at Gunther in the IC belt,
that's not going to help his cause.
Did not help matters.
No, that is not going to help his cause at all. That was a bad loss. That was a bad defeat. No doubt about it. And it should have been more better than what it was. But at the end of the day, like we said, bad loss for Chad Gable. Could have been better in certain areas, but it is what it is. It was a 2.5 to 3, or at least 2.5. A solid match, good battle. Really nothing more to add, Anthony. It's yours. Like you said, Chad Gable's trying to get another shot at the Intercontinental Championship, but to lose to Bronson Reed, that does not help his causes at all. As a matter of fact, it actually accentuates or actually rises the stock of Bronson Reed more than helping Chad Gable.
Absolutely. So let's move on to our next match. The new NXT Women's Champion, Grand Slam Becky Lynch. You know, she cut the promo talking about her open challenge, and she was hoping for some like a younger talent to come out and answer this challenge. She did not get that. We got Natalya. So here we go. Becky Lynch in her first defense of her NXT Women's Championship on television after knocking off Tiffany Stratton last Tuesday night on NXT, defending against Natalya, winner of the match, 8 minutes and 20 seconds, and still the NXT Women's Champion, the man, Becky Lynch. MF, no surprise with this outcome.
No surprise with the outcome. Probably the only surprise is that Natalya took the challenge. However, it does seem fitting because Natalya also was, as you know, was a contender for the NXT Women's Championship. Obviously, we all talked about the battle between her and Charlotte Flair. This was after Paige was forced to relinquish the title after she jumped to the main roster, and it was Charlotte Flair versus Natalya for the NXT Women's title at the time. And Charlotte Flair walked away with the belt that night, but Natalya never really had another real opportunity at the title until now. So I could see why Natalya would want to do it. Plus, she's such a veteran voice of the company. I mean, she deserves at least a shot. So I give kudos for her to step up, to take the opportunity. But I think we all knew who was going to win that match. There was no big surprise. Now, the question now becomes does we see Becky Lynch tomorrow? Does she do the open challenge again? And if she does, who takes the challenge this time around on NXT? Because now you're talking about the NXT women situation. So we'll see how it plays out. But no, there's really nothing more to add. Anthony, this was a solid, I'll say about 2.5 to 3. So it's yours.
2.5, 2 3/4. This is one of those combinations that is always going to produce a good match, but we have seen it so many times that it feels like filler until WWE decides what it wants to do with Becky Lynch during her reign. Natalya is a great wrestler, but she is always the stepping stone for everyone right after they win a title. The man pinned her with a roll-up to retain her women's title in a decent but predictable encounter. The announcers did a good job putting Tiffany Stratton over when talking about Becky beating her for the title. The way the back of Natty's head hit the bottom turnbuckle looked dangerous. Blind bumps are always a little scary. And Natalya sat in the corner after her loss looking sad. It might lead to something, or it might just be the camera lingering on her longer than intended. 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a star. The best I can go on that one. Then we had Tommaso Ciampa squaring off against Giovanni Vinci of Imperium. Tommaso Ciampa wins the match, 3 minutes and 25 seconds. We're not going to really, go into this. I will say this, though. Both of these guys spent a long time in NXT together. But surprisingly, they have only been in the ring a few times as opponents. So this felt like a fresh match between two guys who could both use more screen time. Gunther couldn't be bothered to come to the ring, so he was shown watching the match from backstage. After roughly 3 to 5 minutes of solid technical wrestling, Ciampa scored the submission win. WWE needs to decide if it wants to push Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa as a tag team or not. These singles runs they have had on the main roster have not been ideal, and that's really all I can say on that. So with that, we move on to the main event of the evening. But before we do that, we've set the table for next Monday's Raw in Ontario, California, and we got some good stuff coming up in Ontario next week. We talked about Shinsuke Nakamura is going to answer Seth freaking Rollins' challenge. Otis is going to go against Bronson Reed. It was also announced that Raw. And then, but I think the main event, no question about it, the return match from Payback, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have finally invoked their rematch clause. They will challenge Finn Balor and Damian Priest for a chance to regain their undisputed tag team championship next Monday night in Ontario, California. Now we get to the main event of the evening, as it was main event Jey Uso squaring off against Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre wins the match, 14 minutes and 15 seconds. No question about it. This was the fight of the night here. 4 stars. Even though even though Jey was playing the underdog in this situation, he was still putting up a good fight. Judgment Day came to the ringside area to support Jey, even though he never asked them to be there. When everyone in Judgment Day got on the apron to talk to Uso, he took them all out with super kicks before Drew McIntyre nailed him with a Claymore for the win. This match was pretty much what everyone should have expected going into it. That's not a bad thing, but it certainly won't stand out either. McIntyre was having trouble deciding whether to help Jey Uso fend off Judgment Day when Cody Rhodes ran down to help Jey Uso clear the ring. The show ended with main event Jey and the American Nightmare standing tall. At first glance, McIntyre's let me scratch that. And it feels like Damian Priest's Money in the Bank briefcase is going to be less of a priority moving forward, which hopefully makes his eventual cash in that much more surprising. I'll say this was the fight of the night. I'm going to give it about 3 3/4 to 4 stars for the effort. Very good match here. And that's all. So MF, Drew McIntyre defeating Jey Uso, 14 minutes, 15 seconds. But after the match was over, Judgment Day attacked Jey Uso. Drew McIntyre did not come to his aid, but Cody Rhodes did.
Yeah, and that's the biggest tell, is that Drew McIntyre did not help Jey. That really rubbed me the wrong way. I was not happy with Drew McIntyre. I said a few short words that I'm not allowed to repeat on air, and I will not repeat it here tonight. I had a little bit of a few choice words for Drew McIntyre on that. I'll say that. Cody did the right thing, helping Jey Uso, clearing out the ring to clear out the Judgment Day after the Judgment Day thought that they had Jey Uso in the fold, and they did not. And what happened next was a solid, it was a solid match. It was a 3 3/4 of a star fight. Good main event. As far as the overall review goes, Anthony, I have to say that they did a good job with the show. It was a solid show, to say the very least. At the end of the day, I think it could have been a lot more better. But look, it was a good matchup. It was a good fight. And look, I think the right team, overall, I would say about 7.5 stars is my rating. There was a couple of matches or a couple of things that, that was kind of filler, but you had 3 good, solid fights out here tonight. More than anything else, whenever you get at least 3 solid fights on a show, you got yourself a pretty good episode on your hands. So that's my thought of it. So 3 1/4, 7.5 is my rating. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, 7.5 for me. I do have some constructive criticism though. Tonight's show was full of rematches that did little to advance their storylines, a few strange booking decisions, and an impromptu NXT Women's Championship match that nobody will remember tomorrow. To be clear, tonight's show being weak is solely due to the booking. The men and women of WWE always make sure they do their best to entertain the crowd in the arena and the fans at home, but they can only do so much with what they are given. The standout match tonight was probably Kofi Kingston versus Ivar, which wasn't even the original plan heading into tonight. Shinsuke Nakamura and Ricochet had a fun encounter, but something about Ivar doing a moonsault is always going to make a match stand out. The next pay-per-view is not too far away, This needs to be where the majority of WWE's current storylines end. Most of what we are getting every week feels repetitive, but a fresh start for a handful of stars could help improve both Raw and SmackDown heading into 2024. I do agree with the rating. 7.5. That's the best we can go for this show tonight. So without any further ado, all right. We are back to the return of my traditional Tony's Take. And, well, what can I say? We started off with Impact Wrestling, not just any Impact Wrestling, Impact Wrestling episode 1000. That's right. And as a matter of fact, this 1000 episode of Impact Wrestling was too big for 1 week. It's going to be spread out over 2 weeks. Tonight, you're going to get my thoughts of week 1. Next week, you'll get my thoughts on week 2. So let's start it off with night 1, and we started it off with an in-ring segment. Scott D'Amore talked about how he started the very first episode of the show, which aired on June 4th of 2004. And he said the next 2 weeks are going to be a celebration of Impact's history and present. We're starting with the knockouts. And who came out first? OMF. Your girl, Gail Kim. Mm-hmm. And then we show a video of the knockouts throughout the years. And then we had an interruption. The Beautiful People, Velvet Sky and Angelina Love, special reunion. And then Giselle Shaw and the Shawntourage come out. And then Jordynne Grace comes out. Deonna Purrazzo comes out. Knockouts champion Trinity comes out. Awesome Kong and Raisha Saeed come out after. And then Tasha Steelz makes her return. And next week, and this upcoming Thursday night on Impact Wrestling, as part of that 1000 episode, you are going to see a 10 knockout tag team match. You got the Beautiful People, Deonna Purrazzo, Tasha Steelz, and Giselle Shaw. They're going to be squaring off against Mickie James, who also made her return, along with Trinity, Gail Kim, Jordynne Grace, and Awesome Kong. I'll have more on what we can expect on this upcoming week's show and when I set the table for it. But outside of Tara and ODB, maybe a few others like Madison Rayne, this was a who's who of the knockouts, and they deserve a lot of praise, even if it did take up the first 30 minutes or so of the show. The return of Feast or Fired. Ooh, this was a big concept back in the day. Joe Hendry, Yuya Uemura, Johnny Swinger, Moose, Brian Myers, Kevin Knight, Kushida, PCO, Black Taurus, Chris Bay, Crazy Steve, Alpha Bravo, Bhupinder Gujjar, Heath Slater, Jay Vidal, John Schuyler, Jonathan Gresham, the Laredo Kid, Sami Callihan, and Steve Macklin. 4 briefcases above the ring. 3 contain title shots. World Heavyweight Championship, World Tag Team Championship, and believe it or not the X Division Championship, but the Digital Media Championship. And one, of course, contains the pink slip, which means you're fired. So here's how it all breaks down. Here's who got the briefcase. Crazy Steve got a case. Moose got a case. Yuya Uemura got a case. And I believe PCO. So let's see. Moose got a case. Uemura got a case. Crazy Steve got a case. And And then at the end, Steve Macklin got the final case. So, Matt, did you have a thought on this?
I actually have my predictions or what I think it's going to be.
Okay.
I think Moose is going to get the case that has the World Heavyweight title match. I think Steve Macklin got the case that's going to give him the digital media title shot. I think Yuri Uemura is who you said?
Yep, Uemura.
I believe he has. I think Crazy Steve's got the case that holds the tag team titles, which means Yuri Uemura is going to be leaving Impact Wrestling.
We shall find out.
Those are my predictions.
Well, this Thursday night, I'm glad you mentioned it. This Thursday night, we will find out who got which case. So tune in to find out if you can. All right. Total time of the match was 13 minutes and 36 seconds. 3 1/4, 3 1/2. I have no idea how to rate this, as it's really not much in the way of a bout. You have people slowly being eliminated, and then when the fourth case is won, it just stops. It's kind of like a ladder match, but with staggered endings. But the real drama is in the reveals. And then you had Rhino return at the end. So that was interesting. Daisy Hit Squad. They were back, and guess who else is back? One of the greatest tag teams of all time reunited on this show. Team 3D, Brother Ray, Brother Devon. And Team 3D wins the match, 5 minutes and 54 seconds. 2.5, all things considered, it was a fine match. And the nostalgia was strong with this one. Devon was looking pretty awesome given how long he's been out of the ring. And it was great to see one of the best teams ever getting at least one last match. I know they're more famous for their time in WWE and ECW, but Team 3D had a heck of a run in Impact, and it's more than an acceptable place for them to have this kind of moment.
It's kind of a little surprising to see that Team 3D came back, even though I don't know if you heard the rumors, Anthony, that the Dudleys or Team 3D just signed legend contracts with WWE, which actually opens the door for those damn Dudleys to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And as a matter of fact,
they already are in the Hall of Fame.
Are they officially?
Yeah. I believe it was in 2018 as part of WrestleMania 34. Edge and Christian inducted them.
Oh, all right.
But I know. It's been a few years, but
it's been a few years, yeah. So
no.
I actually thought they did. I actually thought they didn't, or maybe they might be setting up because remember, it being in Philadelphia. Hello, maybe those damn Dudleys show up at Mania. Big Possibly. Surprise.
Maybe. I mean, Lincoln Financial Field. Ooh, that would be something. We'll have to wait and find out. Josh Alexander comes out, cuts a promo, and that brought out the World Heavyweight Champion Alex Shelley, and there's no question about it. They're on a collision course. Don't be surprised if those two end up main eventing Bound for Glory. Don't be surprised if that's the Bound for Glory main event. I wouldn't be. Let's see. But after their verbal exchange, the World Tag Team Champions, the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz, they came out and they attacked them. Mixed tag team match. Husband and wife versus husband and wife. On one side, you had Eddie and Alicia Edwards going up against the TNA Originals, Frankie Kazarian and his wife, of course, the original Knockout, Tracy Brooks. And it was Tracy Brooks and Frankie Kazarian winning the match, 12 minutes and 39 seconds. Tracy Brooks scored the winning fall. This was about 3 1/4 or so. Tracy's return was the big deal here, and for someone who was wrestling her first match in 11 years, imagine that. She did just fine. This should be enough to wrap up the feud, and it plays into the idea of the big milestone show. Frankie did most of the work here, and there is nothing wrong with that, especially given the situation. But wait, there's more. After the match was over, Frankie Kazarian said, "Honey, I got a surprise for you. Look over at the Titantron." And before you know it, they played a video package. And, well, you thought that Mike Tenay and Don West were the only inductees into this year's Hall of Fame class? No. Tracy Brooks is going into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. She will be joining Mike Tenay and Don West as part of Bound for Glory in Chicago. MF, what a moment for the original knockout.
I mean, well-deserved moment for her. Look, she stepped away from the ring to start a family with Frankie Kazarian. They had a child together. I think they had one or two together. One together.
Yep, and their son was in the ring with them at that moment. Even more special.
Which makes it even more special. And now she gets the ultimate honor from Impact Wrestling, from TNA, from Impact Wrestling, and that she will be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and her name will be now and forever etched in the annals of greatness for Impact Wrestling. And I know a lot of people may say, for what it's worth, that Impact has not been, one of the, there hasn't been that many success stories in Impact. I get it. But she had a success story. She was, like we said, the original knockout. She was very tried and true. She started it all the way back in the Asylum days. So she's been there from the very beginning. And for her to get this moment, to get the honor and to be inducted, I mean, you cannot say anything better than what it is. I'm happy for her. Congratulations to Tracy Brooks for being that will be inducted. Not officially yet. We got to wait for Bound for Glory weekend, but she will be inducted into the Hall of Fame in about a month or so. I believe they normally do this in October. So in about a month and change, she'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
It will be the night of Bound for Glory. MF, it's the night of Bound for Glory. That's when Tracy Brooks, as well as Mike Tenay and Don West, will take their rightful places in the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'm sure that'll be done maybe during the pre-show, or maybe sometime during the live show. I don't know, but we'll find out come October 21 at the Cicero Indoor Stadium in Chicago. Main event of the evening, X Division Championship on the line. The champion Lio Rush defending the title against the challenger and former 9-time title holder in his own right, one half of the Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin. Winner of the match, 16 minutes and 2 seconds. And new X Division champion for the 10th time, Chris Sabin, is a 10-time X Division champion. He wins the match, wins the title. Excellent main event. 4 1/4, 4.5 stars. Nice way to wrap up a special show. And the good thing here is that Sabin winning the title is not some out of nowhere change. Sabin is a regular around Impact, and he has to be the most successful X Division wrestler ever. This was a special balance between the nostalgia and the modern stuff, which happened to come after a very awesome match. And then you notice after the match was over, a bunch of wrestlers came out to celebrate with Chris Sabin to end the show. Awesome moment. 4 1/4, 4.5 stars. In the immortal words of MF and Gorilla, history was indeed made. Unprecedented crowning. I mean, it doesn't get any more unprecedented than winning a title for a 10th time. I mean, wow. Unbelievable. What a moment. So, incredible match. 4 1/4 to 4.5 stars. 8.5 out of 10. This was in no way a show about the wrestling, as instead this was all about the nostalgia and having fun while looking back at the company's history. It's rare for any show to make it this far, and that made things all the more special. I had a great time watching this show, and this is exactly what the show and what we got on that show, exactly what it should have been. Hell of a show here, and I'm really looking forward to part 2 next week. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to set the table for that right here and now. So here you go. Ultimate X matchup. We got an Ultimate X match, and whoever wins this will be the first challenger for Chris Sabin and the X Division Championship. In no particular order, it will be Speedball Mike Bailey versus Alan Angels versus Rich Swann versus Ace Austin versus Zachary Wentz versus Samurai del Sol. Ultimate X match. Josh Alexander, one-on-one with one half of the World Tag Team Champions, Trey Miguel. And then, of course, we can't forget about that huge Knockouts tag team match. 10 knockout tag match. We got Trinity. We got Jordan Grace. We got Mickie James. We got Gail Kim and Awesome Kong on one side. And on the other side, you have Deonna Purrazzo, Tasha Steelz, Giselle Shaw, Savannah Evans, and Angelina Love of the Beautiful People. And we also have Eric Young squaring off against Kenny King. And that's all. Oh, and we will have Jake Something squaring off against Dirty Dango. And we will have the results, and we will have the results of the Feast or Fired, and we'll find out who got what case and the whole nine. So that's all we can say on that. And yep. So that is that. You can catch that Thursday night, 8 p.m. Access TV, 8:30 p.m. on YouTube for those of you who have that insider membership, and then 10 p.m. and whenever Impact Plus uploads it to their content. So it's a great benefit to have that for Impact Plus for those of you who have it. So with that, we move on to NXT Level Up from this past Friday night, and let's address that quick. Women's tag team action: Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson of the Metaphor. They went up against Danny Palmer and Tatum Paxley, and it was Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson winning the match, 5 minutes and 55 seconds. Not much to this one, as Palmer was the most impressive, and her partner turned on her. Legend and Jackson winning was the right call, as they are in a new stable and they need to rack up some wins. I can only give it 1 star. Bronco Nima and Lucien Price, scripts in their corner, going up against Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe. And it was Nima and Price winning, 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Not much to this one either, as the crowd didn't really seem sure about who they should be cheering. They hit each other hard at times, but it was too short, and they didn't even get into the tried and true tag formula. Another 1 star. Global Heritage Invitational matchup: Tyler Bate squaring off against Charlie Dempsey. Tyler Bate wins the match, 7 minutes and 12 seconds. That was fun. I enjoy something different, and that's what we got here with the catch style wrestling and strikes. Bate winning was never really a question, as Dempsey is just there so far to take losses, but gain experience. 3 stars. 7 out of 10. I thought Bate and Dempsey alone would make this a good show. And yeah, those tag matches try to knock it down a peg. Definitely check out Bate and Dempsey for something different than what you're used to getting each week on Level Up. So that's a 7 out of 10 for that, because of that alone, really. So with that will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in, as always. In case you missed the end of Saturday night, MF, you have a big announcement considering our future content this week.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing it a little more earlier this week, guys. So on Wednesday night, we're gonna be doing Wednesday Night Madness at 10 p.m. Eastern, immediately following Impact.
Dynamite.
Not Impact, but Dynamite. Sorry, the Grand Slam.
Yes, sir.
So we got that, and then after that, Thursday will also be at 10 p.m. And Friday, and our show on Friday will also be at 10 p.m. Then Cerebral Smack Talk back to its traditional, usual 10:30 start time on Saturday, and then Anthony, we do it all over again 1 week from tonight with Ridiculously Raw. So that's the format.
Yes, sir. So let's run it down. Let's run down the content here. Wednesday night, 10 p.m., immediately following AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, head on over to MF's channel, BraceFan95, for another edition of Wednesday Night Madness, as it will be NXT. But NXT, that's one thing. But the more exciting thing will obviously, of course, be AEW Dynamite Grand Slam from the Arthur Ashe Stadium, Flushing Meadows, the home of the U.S. Open of tennis. And oh man, that is going to be a show. I cannot wait for it. It's going to be great. And then on top of that, we will have our preview of the next Thursday night football game. Solid matchup here. We got the New York Giants squaring off against the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll preview that game on Wednesday night. Thursday night, 10 p.m., immediately following part 2 of Impact Wrestling 1000. Head right back here to the Tone 25 for the Week 4 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday, or as we're calling it, Smorgasbord Saturday. I checked it. We have 19 games on the docket. 6 of them are ranked versus ranked matchups. So many good ones. We got 6 legitimate main eventers. But the 2 that really stand out, with all due respect, Ohio State and Notre Dame, and Colorado and Oregon. Those are the 2 big ones right there. Although we got a lot of big ones. But those are the 2 headliners when it comes to Saturday. Friday night, 10 p.m., immediately following SmackDown, come right back here to the Tone 25 for the Week 3 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday. We'll recap Giants and 49ers, a brief recap of that, and then we'll get into the rest of the slate. And then Saturday, 10:30, good old MF Michael Fletcher, Braves Fan 95, Cerebral Smack Talk, Friday Night SmackDown, and AEW Collision. We'll get into that on Saturday rather. And then next Monday night, we do it all again. Ridiculously Raw, the penultimate Monday Night Raw before No Mercy, or I should say Fastlane. So that's it. So until Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Madness over on MF's channel, Braves Fan 95, is Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, the phenom Michael Volek, and of course, always and forever, the First Lady Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up, Fortune Force style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Madness, you've been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and streaming.com. And remember, my friends, no matter what anyone tells you beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody. Bye.